before this game, but that looks so easy. I mean, barely using any skill moves, barely using any driven passes, just using simple X passes, turning around, and simple finishes. Sometimes the simple FIFA is the most efficient FIFA, and Shellz is showing this today.
You said it's possibly some of his best ever FIFA play. You stand by that one in that second leg?
Definitely. I've seen Shellz in many games, but I've never seen him being this dominant against a world-class player like Cian is.
Okay, well, we're going to move on to another PlayStation 4 player, and that is Shellz. He's not had it all his own way this time around. Of course, remember, he got to the very final of Berlin last year, and we're going to build up to one of his games by having a look at the man himself.
So last year, yeah, was my first year competing in any FIFA tournaments, and I managed to go all the way to the final. That was a huge achievement for me. I just tried to stay calm and play one game at a time. It adds a lot of pressure, I think, that I'm one of the players to beat now that I went undefeated, and I know a lot of people know who I am now, so it's going to be quite tough than last year, but hopefully I can overcome the challenge and do well.
Well, it is Shellz against Eisvogel, and this is a 6th-round game, and it is a second leg affair. He's still got something on this, Shellz. Taking a look here as we get things underway. Shellz with his Oxford United badge, love that. It's the first professional ground I ever went to witness a football match, so I love seeing the old Ox in there. Eisvogel, as we see, with a 4-2 aggregate disadvantage. So Shellz wanting to make his presence felt here in the second leg and see out this victory in round 6.
Yes, and Shellz may be the guy who inspired Shellz to use this 4-4-2 formation. He was a pioneer of this formation. He also made a video about this on YouTube showing his instruction, his custom tactics, and I'm pretty sure that many pro players got inspired by this, because Shellz has been the most dominant player in the world in for champions. He's, of course, he went, I think it was 240-0 at one point, and that is absolutely mind-blowing.
Yeah, one of the fun guys on the circuit to watch. And here he comes with Ronaldo. Try the little rollover. Take a free kick out of it. It's something manufactured. Nicely done. Lovely touch from Marcelo. It's a lovely breakthrough goal in the second leg.
Yeah, Shellz here, 5-2 is looking very confident against Eisvogel. Another German player. We've seen Germany being very dominant here on the stage. Of course, they had over 32, I think it was 40 players plus qualified for this tournament, and they're showing that they are maybe the best FIFA country in the world. But right now, Shellz in the lead, and who else if not, of course, o fenomeno Ronaldo Nazario.
And it's an important goal as well to steady himself for this second leg now with a 3-goal advantage as well. He's going to have to do this. If he's going to reach the round of 32 at this event, Shellz is going to have to do it the hard way. He's coming in with 3 losses and 2 wins after 5 games. And remember, if you lose 4, you go home automatically. It doesn't matter what happens in that 7th game. So he needs to be on the right end of that 4-3 balance, which means winning his final 2 games here. This is the first of them in round 6, and he's currently 5-2 up on aggregate. So things have started well for him, and he just wants to continue that steady form, just keep plugged in.
Yeah, this is a very different matchup. We saw, of course, the previous game, 2 guys who already qualified to the knockout phase, and here we're seeing 2 guys who really has to win. I mean, if they lose 1 game more, they are out of the tournament. So it's definitely, you're under so much bigger pressure, and it's much easier to make mistakes.
Yes, should not forget that it's the same for both players. You come up, your opponent in your next round is the player who has the same record that you do at this stage of the tournament. So Eisvogel facing very much the same dilemma. Can he find a way back in here with Cristiano Ronaldo finding Ronaldo? And that is a lovely goal on the turn to level it up and reduce it back to a 2-goal deficit.
And there's definitely still a chance for Eisvogel in this game. We've seen players turning around games very quickly. It goes fast in FIFA 18. It's pretty easy to score goals when you get in the flow, because defending, of course, is much more difficult than we saw in FIFA 17, where we could see games going goalless, but that will never be the case here in FIFA 18, simply because defending is much more of an art here.
That's what they say, an art form. There you go, Sergio Ramos fancies himself as the artist at the back. Ruud Gullit for Icevogel on the far side, having got that equaliser thanks to R9 Ronaldo. N'Golo Kanté for Lionel Messi.
And one very interesting notice in this game is it looks like Shellz actually abandoned his 4-4-2. It's looking like he's playing the 4-2-3-1 wide in this game. So apparently he feels that it doesn't work out for him. Of course, he made a video about it. Maybe that is a bit mental, thinking that, okay, everybody else here trying to play like me. I have to try something different. I have to try something new. So now he's just pulling up this, I think it's the 4-2-3-1 wide he's using here.
There's always the case of a happy accident coming when you stumble on a formation, but of course there's a lot of thought that goes into it from all of these players, but there is also the case that you can outthink yourself, as you just mentioned there. And,
yeah, and I also have this experience, of course, making a lot of YouTube videos sometimes, you know, playing against subscribers in Weekend League, and you know, hey, I teach this guy my type of defending, how to finish. Can he use this against me? And that is some mentality that you have to deal with in these circumstances. Here a great chance for Shellz trying the heel tool flick, but gets stopped there.
You know, the answer to that is to make less popular videos.
But that is not what you want to do, of course.
We'll see what Icevogel has here. The 34th minute, Marcelo going down the left-hand side. He'll fancy himself having got that equaliser to stem the flow from the early goal from Shellz. Gullit on the edge of the area, taking his time, finding Cristiano Ronaldo. The deflection works out and it's wide.
Offside. Oh, wide.
From Kanté.
Yeah, it was a nice chance. I'm not sure if that was offside. Might have been. But Shellz here, I mean, the difference with the 4-2-3-1 wide with the 4-4-2 is that you're going to have that cam linking up the midfield and the strikers. And sometimes I also tried, of course, I had to try the 4-4-2. And what I felt in some games that it's hard to link the midfield and attack together. And the key that we saw Salsa doing is that you have to be much more patient. You have to use your wingbacks in your gameplay here also. Icevogel very close scoring this.
Yep, off the outside of the post, using Cristiano Ronaldo there, drive across De Gea, whose goal kick is a nice tame one.
Yeah, it's a short one because he wants De Gea to pick it up with his hands. It's much more powerful than just kicking out from the goal kick, because of course you can also throw it out De Gea with the long throws, which is a very important trait for goalkeepers, even though here Shellz, of course, in this situation went for the just normal kick in this situation.
Well, in this case, it's Shellz very much on the defensive, as Icevogel has put him under the cosh somewhat with that equaliser and also the chance off the post. Volley wide from N'Golo Kanté, but Shellz always dangerous, always looking. Ronaldo looking for Cristiano Ronaldo. Lovely move from Gullit, though, for Icevogel to again set him on his way through Antonio Valencia. And that is as far as they go in the first half then. So a 1-1 scoreline and still a 2-goal difference for Icevogel to have to address on aggregate. And this is a pivotal game for both players. One more loss for either and they are out. So what are we expecting from Shellz at half-time?
Well, here we're seeing the formations. It's actually a 4-2-3-1 narrow that Shellz is using. That is a little bit more compact. Also, you can find some shorter distances between the players compared to the 4-2-3-1 wide. And Icevogel rocking the 4-2-2-2 or the 4-2-2-2, as you also can say. And it's pretty much identical formation to the 4-2-3-1 narrow, with one big difference, of course, and that is that you have, instead of one cam and one striker, you will have 2 strikers. But overall, it is very similar.
So Shellz coming forward again. Ronaldinho finding Ronaldo. This time there's no space for him to wiggle into. Sergio Ramos with a good piece of defending, but it's back with Messi. Ronaldo, Shellz still on the attack. It is Ronaldo!
Oh.
2-1 Lead recaptured, 3-goal advantage restored.
And that was a bit of surprise. You can see there that is the reverse elastico. I'm not sure if that was on purpose from Shellz, but it completely got Icevogel out of position and scoring with Ronaldo's, well, he has no weak foot, his left foot. And 3 goals in this game, all coming from the Brazilian icon.
You can see why he's used. Here's Cristiano Ronaldo. He's been very much at it as well, that partnership.
Oh, we could have gone for the shot there. We had space and a distance. Maybe also got a bit surprised that he got the ball back there from Shellz, but that was a great chance to get back in the game, and he has to score very soon. He has 40 in-game minutes left, which is about 5 minutes in real life, and he has to score at least 3 goals. And that is a difficult task against the Shellz, who is known as a very, very good defensive player. So this is a very, very tough task for the German.
Well, he's still making a fist of it. Ronaldinho up on the halfway line for Icevogel. Conte inside. Will be ruining those opportunities to go in front in the leg in the first half. But he does get a corner out of this. Chance to find that equaliser and to go within 2 goals of Shellz. They'll restart again from this right wing corner position. Conte, again they look inside. Ronaldo back to Conte. Blanc back to Ronaldinho.
Oh.
Almost through the pack of them.
Once again, he had a chance to go for that finish. You have to try and whip it. I mean, you won't get many chances against Shellz, and now he had 2 great chances to just go for that finish, that driven shot, but he picked the wrong decision, and here he gets a chance to obey De Gea in the goal. And Icevogel now creating a lot of chances. We're seeing, I think it's nerves from Shellz, because yes, he has to win this game. And we're seeing a completely different gameplay from the last game, South of Chian, where we saw 2 players already qualified. A very open gameplay. And here it's a much, much more close gameplay. And we won't see many more chances in this game, surely. Shellz is going to try to just close it.
Yep, up to the 64th minute now. Ronaldinho. You don't want to be sitting back in your own half, even if you do have possession in these situations when you are as sort of tight physically. As you just mentioned, you have the mental strain of trying to make sure you don't have your pocket picked. Nothing can go wrong for either of these players. And for Shellz leading, particularly, you start to possibly think back to moments, big moments, when things have gone against you late, when games have turned. And of course, we saw that in the grand final in Berlin last year.
Yeah, and this is exactly what the Shellz has to do. He has to try to keep the ball because he has the momentum currently against him, and he has to get that clock going because yes, Icevogel, he is running out of time, and 1 more goal here would be devastating, but good defending there from Valencia.
So can they counter? Gullit for Valencia, for Ronaldinho.
Well, he needs a goal now. The German needs to score. The clock is definitely running out.
Into the 72nd minute. Shellz has it back once more. With Gullit up to Antonio Valencia. And they've let Ronaldinho stray here. And the coverage across from Laurent Blanc. And it goes Shellz' way. That's what he wants. Just take up some time in that corner. Ronaldinho, the man for the business there.
Using the micro control, which is a new feature also in FIFA 18, the L1 or LB on Xbox, just keeping the ball very close to the feet, and having Ronaldinho doing this, it's almost impossible to get the ball back. And now Shellz is doing this perfect. This is exactly what he has to do. Just make the clock go very fast, waste time. I mean, this is FIFA 18. You have to use the advantage of keeping the ball, because it is pretty easy in FIFA 18. Pressure play is not as easy as we saw in the old FIFAs, maybe FIFA 13, 14, where the secondary man press was absolutely insane, maybe even too good, because the players were running like ants on the pitch, and trying to keep the ball for a longer time was much, much more difficult. But in 18, surely, if you want, I mean, some might say that it's not really a sportsmanship, but technically, yes. You could hold the ball for 90 minutes, and there, Icevogel, 10 minutes left, and finally he takes that finish.
Yes, taking the opportunity that you've been crying out for him to take. And the turn from Ronaldinho. So 2-2 in the second leg between these two. And this is an elimination game. It's proved to be in the Swiss format because both of these players are on 3 losses so far, cannot afford a 4th. But at the moment, into the dying embers of the game, and it is Shellz who has constructed that lead from the first leg, 2 goals to the good on aggregate into the final 7 minutes.
Yeah, Shellz, now he just has to keep the ball. He can't give the ball away because Icevogel, he can feel it now, he can smell it, that he's getting close. You see, he's using the offside trap, he's getting a bit desperate. And Shellz, he has to use this, just keeping the ball. And here, it's onside.
And there he goes again. He's got the option to pass it. It was a heavy touch from Ronaldinho and Shellz.
And that is something I've seen from Ronaldinho many times. I think that is one of his biggest weaknesses in his prime item, that sometimes it just gets this, I mean, it makes no sense, this very, very heavy touch. I've seen him doing it many times in this tournament, even though I consider him as one of the best players in this game.
If it happens in real life, it's just a nice big smile that you get from him.
Yeah. Joga bonito, and I think that was a chance.
It was a good save. Icevogel, desperate, into the 90th minute now, needs to score twice. Ronaldinho constructing the play, but it is broken up by Shellz, and it's going to be 2 added minutes. That's all he has to contend with here, and just laying it off for Valencia.
That is GG. I mean, there is no chance, even if he gets the ball back now, somehow, I mean, he has to score 2 goals, and time is simply out. There is no chance. The Shellz will play that deciding game, so he will be 3-3, and playing that last game for the knockout phase is looking very, very interesting right now for Shellz. He's definitely under pressure, but right now he's coping with this pressure in a perfect manner.
Yeah, breathing a sigh of relief as well, but that will do him the world of good, right? You get to 3-3 in terms of wins and losses.